Hey guys, Ogalbina here, bringing you guys our IBA Season 6 Week 8 battle against Zombie and his Victinis. Zombie's a very, very good player. He's a good friend of mine. I'll definitely link his stuff in the description below. Definitely go check him out. I don't believe he's uploading anything right now, but he has before, and he might be in the future. So definitely go give him a look at the very least. Really quick, I want to say no face cam today. I'm recording this super late. I've had a really busy week with school and stuff like that, and I just completely forgot to record this up until now. And it goes up today. I'm recording this like right as I'm waking up and stuff like that. Just so hopefully I can get it edited up today. But regardless, yeah. So no face cam today. I apologize. It should be back next week and stuff like that. But yeah. With that being said, let's do a quick little team builder just so you can see what we're bringing, why we're bringing it, so you know why we're bringing stuff that we are, and so you have that background knowledge going into the match. So yeah. Our team, as you can see in the top right corner there, is going to consist of Salazzle, a little Persian, Superior, Megadancy, Frogadier, Golbat, Porygon Z, Komodo, Seismitoad, Celesteela, and Reuniplus, with our Z captains being Alola Persian and Celesteela, while Zombie's team consists of Mega Lopunny, Crobat, Entei, Pikachu, Rotomo, Gligar, Necro, Blastoise, Clefable, Alola Muck, and Bronzong. And I know one of his Z users is Crobat. I forget the other one. I think it might be Rotomo, and it might be Necro. One of the two. Regardless, he has a very, very scary team. Very fat and annoying, and it's also just really, really threatening. Megalop plus Necro is really scary to deal with. We don't deal with it very well at all. Thank God that Megalop does not have U-turn right now because of the fact that it is, still Gen 7 and stuff like that. Because that would be really unfortunate for, the way we're trying to go about this. But we're honestly should be pretty good. Crobat can be a bit of an issue if it is a nasty plot set. Necro is terrifying if it's a setup set, if it's offensive, just rocks 3 attacks or anything like that. I'm really scared of Necro. It does phenomenally versus us, so we'll have to be careful. Lop is very scary outside of our Reuniplus, but that thing's very pressured this game. Clefable is really hard for us to break and deal with. Muck is incredibly annoying. So there's a lot of really big roadblocks this game, but I think we have a pretty cool squad to potentially take on Zombie and beat him. So, as you can see, our first member is going to be Salazzle, rocking out the Black Sludge Corrosion as its ability, Flamethrower, Sludge Wave, Substitute, and Toxic. 92 HP, 4 defense, 4 speed def, 180 special attack, and 228 speed with a modest nature. Now, this thing is really, really disruptive to Zombie's team. While it still puts on a good amount of offensive pressure because we are pretty offensive with modest nature and dual stabs, which do really well versus this team. Subbing and toxicking a lot of his fatter, more annoying things is really, really clean for us, especially stuff like that Muck. It's super, super clutch, especially because one of the few mons we really can't poison on this team, being Clefable, we do just kind of demolish with a Sludge Wave. So I think Salazzle is a really good disturbance to his team and can really start punching a hole. We'll have to be careful with our subs because obviously the Crobat can be Infiltrator, and it probably will be. I don't see Inner Focus coming for any reason ever, so we'll have to be careful when we're behind a sub there. But other than that, this thing's pretty good disrupting his team. Next up, we have our Reuniplus, which I did change before the game. I remember I saw it in the builder. It was a defensive Reuniplus, rocking out the Rocky Helmet, Magic Guard ability, Psychic Knockoff, Toxic Cover, 228 HP, max defense, and 28 speed with a bold nature. Now, this thing is here to check the Lapany. Lapany is very, 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 very difficult for us to deal with, but this is a great check, to be completely fair. The only issue is that a lot of other things beat Reuniplus on Zombie's team, so we're going to have to be careful. Muck is very annoying because it can either knock off our Rocky Helmet and be, a general nuisance in that way, or it can, try and pursuit trap us, chip us down a bunch. For the next time we come in, we're not, a really great check to lock. So we have to be pretty healthy to take 2 out of it returns, which if Zombie is aggressively creeping, he can 100% hit. He knows I'm not running max speed Salazzle or Persian or anything like that. Like, there's no reason. So that's obviously going to be very, very scary to deal with for knockoff. In order to catch that Muck coming in, if we can knock off its AV or its Super Berry, phenomenal for us. Toxic just for a general chip on some, annoying more pesky mons. Psychic for our stab because it hits the team decently hard outside of Bronzong and Muck. And then recover just to recover off damage and stuff like that. And Toxic will also let us scout a Clefable if we do catch that thing with Toxic if it's unaware, or Magic Guard. Next up, we have Celesteela rocking out with the Flyinium Z Beast Boost its ability, Air Slash, Flash Cannon, Flamethrower, Autotomize, 116 HP, 4 defense, 4 speed def, 212 special attack, and 172 speed, but then modest nature. Now, if we can get a little bit of chip on his team, I think this set goes crazy with the Flyinium Z. We can start nuking some things. We need to chip the Muck down a bunch, especially if it's AV or if we can bait a knockoff with our Reuniplus. It's obviously super nice. And once we get to that point and we autotomize up, we should outspeed everything and we should really be able to punch a hole through. We can break through Clefable even if it is unaware just because Flash Cannon does so much. Flamethrowers for the Bronzong, we obviously need some chip on that in case it's like an annoying Psywave set and stuff like that. So I think Celesteela is really, really good in this matchup as a potential endgame win con if we can chip some things down and break through his team. Which, speaking of breakers, we got a little bit of an unlikely one this week with Seismitoad rocking out with the Life Orb, Swift Swim as its ability, and you'll see how rains that are here in a little bit. Surf, Earth Power, Sludge Wave, and Grass Knot. 132 HP, 4 defense, 4 sprint def, max special attack, and 116 speed with a modest nature. I think this Pokemon, this is very gimmicky. And again, I kind of want to hold some stuff in the back, like my best possible build for Zombie, because Zombie is like 6-1 at this point in the season. He's for sure in playoffs. He's doing really well, and I think that we can potentially make playoffs as well. So I wanted to potentially still bring a good team, bring a team to win, but I want to kind of scout and see what his approach to the matchup is, and kind of hold on to some things for a potential playoff rematch because I definitely could see us playing him there, especially if we skate him with a lower seed. But this set goes crazy versus him, and I think this is a really cool set to catch him off guard and see if we can, force some crazy prep next time. Our stabs plus Sludge Wave and Grass Knot go insane. Grass Knot doesn't do the most to Blastoise, especially if it's bulky, but it's a way to hit it. Surplus Earth Power hits pretty much everything. Sludge Wave is pretty much just there for Rotomote and a harder hit on Clefable. But provided we can get up our Rain and then pivot into, Jiraiya right here and put on a lot of offensive pressure, we should be able to hit KO everything. So I really think this is a really cool idea to really punch a hole through Zombies, more fatter, balanced type build. Speaking of Rain Center, we have Alola Persian with the Damp Rock Fur Coat ability, Punishment, Knockoff, Rain Dance, and Parting Shot. 116 HP, 12 attack, 4 defense, max special defense, and 124 speed with a Jolly Nature. Now, this thing is here to set the sun. It's here to knock off items, be a general nuisance, Parting Shot around, and, just be really, really annoying for our opponents to deal with. We have the Damp Rock plus the Rain Dance in order to get in our Jiraiya and get the most out of our rain turns and stuff like that, because we will be wasting a couple in order to set the rain and then Parting Shot into it most likely. So we're gonna have to be smart about that. Knock off, like I said, to knock off items. And then the punishment is here for like a Calm Mind Necro, which can be really, really annoying. It starts boosting up a bunch on us. While Persian isn't the strongest Pokemon, if we start getting some boosts and he starts like accumulating a lot of Calm Mind boosts and stuff like that on us, we can throw off a big punishment. Being that it is stab and we get 20 base power for each stat boost, just one Calm Mind makes us 100 base power. So that's obviously really, really nice. Despite it being a Necro and being really bulky, we can hopefully chip in range or something else on our team. Because if you look at our build right now, we are very weak to Calm Mind Necro, like incredibly weak to Calm Mind Necro. So we're gonna have to be careful about that. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory set beyond that. And then lastly, we have our Komodo. Rocking out the leftovers. Bulletproof is its ability. Drain Punch, Iron Head, Bulk Up, and Stealth Rock. 196 HP, 60 attack, 44 defense, 44 split def, and 164 speed with an adamant nature. Now, this Pokemon is also very solid in this game. It's going to be our Rocker, which is going to be its main purpose this game. It's a soft check to Lopunny. We can always take a hit pretty easily and Drain Punch off all the damage and, pretty much knock it out. And it's a decent win con provided we eliminate a Gligar that comes. And we eliminate or get heavy chip on a Clefable. Bulk Oak actually does pretty well. Now, I wish I could have access to Body Press this week, be like a really defensive Komodo, but this is Gen 7, unfortunately, so it can't. But this thing is just a nice little blanket check to a few annoying things. Oh, we also have to get a million chip on Necro or just completely knock it out, which is obviously, a bit annoying. But again, hopefully we can get it with our Persian or something like that, or just pressure it to where it's forced to take a big hit from our Salazzle or our Seismitoad or something like that. So yeah, that's going to be the team. I'll be right back with the match. Alright guys, here we are with the battle. So you can see the 6th zombie elected to bring human with Necro, Alola Muck, Bronzong, Clefable, Crobat, and Mega Lopunny. Now right off the bat, I kind of want to lead something that would put a little bit of immediate pressure on Zombie offensively if you wanted to try and lead a passive Bronzong, get up rocks, because there isn't a great way I can really defend against that, or like a Rocks Clefable, or just a Clefable lead just to be a general nuisance and as a whole. So I want to lead my Salazzle, potentially get a sub up, throw off a Toxic, maybe even just off a Dual Stab, and kind of go from there. It'll let me scout out and see what he wanted to do. If he led Lopunny, I could obviously hard switch out. I'm not super worried about that thing with a full health Reuniplus in the back. And if you led Crobat, I could obviously switch out as well. So I figured that would be very important, as I am going to lead off with our Salazzle. Obviously, Psychic Terrain isn't up. This is just the background I picked in the Citra, because I thought it looked sick. But yeah, regardless, we're going to lead off with our Salazzle in turn 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw off a sub. The reason I go for a sub is because I can see him potentially being like a Rockster attacks Necro just because it's so good offensively versus me, and I want to try and catch him doing that. And at least scout and see maybe if I can catch an item, see what he wanted to be. Maybe he's Life Orb, which you're going to see it does turn out to be a Life Orb Necrozma, and that's very scary. I do not have switch-ins to this thing whatsoever. There's not a single pivot on my team to this thing because my dark type's an Alolan Persian. So obviously really, really scary for us to deal with. I am going to kind of be forced to go out into that. He could totally call it and go for like a Signal Beam or something like that because that is in the game at this point. But he instead is going to make a double out into mid, which is going to be his Alola Mug. And honestly, this is fine with me because what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to throw off a big Rain Dance as I expect him to potentially go for a knockoff, potentially go for a curse or something like that. Regardless, I can knock him off the next turn if he goes for a curse, getting rid of his berry. I don't think he'd want a curse on this thing, knowing that I'm probably knock off myself. So this tells me he might be a potentially AV or not a curse variant or something like that, as he is going to knock off my Damprock, but regardless, we're going to get the correct amount of turns to really put on some offensive pressure. I am going to Parting Shot out into my Seismitoad, and this is pretty telegraphed. I'm pretty much screaming that I'm going into Seismitoad. I just set up the rain for it with my Damprock. So it's pretty obvious it is, so I'm expecting a double knock, but it won't do that much damage to me, and I'll still 2-hit KO pretty much everything that comes out here. So the knock's not going to do that much to us. It's going to make us lose our Life Orb, which honestly kind of helps out in our longevity to an extent, as I am just going to throw off a big Earth Power as he goes out in his Bronzong. The goddamn good play. He's pivoting around, good play, but it turns out he's actually Heatproof Bronzong. So what that's going to let me do is get a ridiculous chunk off on this Zong, in which putting it in range of a Surf from us. So we can go for a pretty free Surf this next turn, get off the most damage possible to pretty much everything else in the back, as he is going to try and pivot around our Seismitoad, but we are breaking a hole through his team with this Toad right here. A nice, cool, offensive, Life Orb, Rain Dance set. No Life Orb at this point, but regardless, we're going to throw off a big Surf, get off a decent chunk, and from this range, we should be able to hit KO him with a Sludge Wave, and he shouldn't be able to KO us unless he's like Grass Knot Clefable, which would be a pretty crazy bring, but honestly, at that point, his clutch weakened to the point of my liking. So I am going to get off big Sludge Wave. He is going to stay in and go for a Moonblast, and you're going to see right here that he's unfortunately going to get a special attack drop. Now, this doesn't seem super big right now, but what that does is it basically makes it to where we're not as much of an offensive presence versus the rest of his team, and it's going to kind of cut our wall breaking a little bit short at this point, as I am going to be forced to go for another Sludge Wave, where as before, I could have just gone for a Surf and knocked this thing out, or something like that without the special attack drop, but I couldn't risk the roll at that point with the Clefable, so I am just going to go for a Sludge Wave, as he is going to be able to pivot around me much easier because of that drop. So that was definitely really, really unfortunate, as he is going to make the switch out into his Crobat, knowing I'm forced to Earth Power, because once again, Surf wouldn't have knocked him out at -1. So that's very, very unfortunate. I'm going to click Surf once again, try and get some chip off on this thing, maybe get a free switch into something afterwards. Toad did its job in breaking through really well. That is a 2-hit KO, as unfortunately, he is going to show the nasty block. And this is really scary, because in my head, I'm like, well, if I got another turn of rain, then I can just, Surf it. But we end right there. So unfortunately, I am going to save my Seismitoad. Bit of a questionable decision by me. I could have honestly sacked it off and gotten a free switch out or something, but instead I just decided to sack off my Salazzle. I figure it's not super useful at this point in the game, being the 6 that he brought and stuff like that, and the position I'm in right now, being that I already broke through the Clefable and the Bronzong with my Seismitoad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out into my Reuniplus. Now, this also seems questionable, because again, we know he's special, he's nasty plotted up, but I was looking at my team, and one, I couldn't really go Selly yet. I didn't have sufficient chip on things, and that's my win con. The rest of my team died to this thing, but looking at Reuniplus, even though we're not Spadef at all, even though we're not even max HP, we will live a +2 Supersonic Sky Strike from this range, so I am kind of forced to go into my Reuniplus and just click Psychic, hopefully picking this thing off and cutting it super short, as all the stuff pops up on my computer, I apologize, and it does turn out that he is Flyinium Z, so I'm glad I made that play. I could have gotten to Selly, and I think I might have lived a Heat Wave. I probably lived a Heat Wave, but again, that is my win con. I need to get sufficient chip on things, and that thing can still 100% win this game at the end. So I want to try and keep as much health on that thing as humanly possible. And Supersonic Sky Strike is going to hit Reuniplus, but Hard Body's a beast. He hasn't dropped a 1-hit ever, and he's going to throw off a big, big Psychic and be able to kind of neutralize this threat right here in the Crobat. So down it goes, but we did have to give up a lot on our team to neutralize that thing, as out comes the Necro, and this is really scary. I don't have switches to this once again, so he's going to go for a Dark Pulse, showing that he Dark Pulse over Signal Beam, which I figured would really bring over that, just in like the Persian respect, but I guess he didn't really respect Persian in that sense. So he's gonna take another turn of Life Orb. I just stayed in and I clicked either Toxic or Knockoff. I completely forget, but this is gonna give me a free switch back out into my little Persian to kind of put on a little bit of pressure with this guy, as he is going to switch hard out into his Lopunny, as I believe I do just off a knockoff. And this is unfortunate because this does like nothing. I mean, it's a crit, so it does a decent amount, but it's not the position I want to be in, because at this point, with no Reuni, I don't have switch into this. So I'm basically just going to have to sack off my Persian here, which makes my Seismitoad super, super useless in the back, which is also really unfortunate. I clicked Rain Dance here in like a last ditch in case he missed, because that would have been super clutch. But regardless, we're going to go down to this here high jump kick. And yeah, be in a pretty tough spot. We don't have great switching, so I'm going to go out into my Komodo. Now, this is a really, really important point in the game, because in my head, I'm thinking, Zombie, you lose to an offensive Celesteela if you let this thing go down. I think he like 100% loses the game if he lets this thing go down. Keep in mind, he still has decently healthy checks in the back in Clefable and things like that, and he has a decent sack in Bronzong. He still has like a pretty much full health Necrozma. So in my head, I'm thinking he is saving this. There's no way he doesn't save this Pokemon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to elect to get up my rocks this turn. And I'm assuming you can kind of tell from the way I've been speaking right here, but he actually ends up staying in and clicking Hydro Kick. I love Zombie. I think he's a phenomenal player. I don't agree with this play at all. I really don't agree with that play at all. I Drain Punch, I get all that health back pretty much, and I just get up my rocks the next turn. So I guess maybe it's me overplaying, but I really don't agree with Zombie giving up his Lopunny in that situation, just because he gets such a healthy team to check my Komodo in the back. I talked to him after, he was saying I lost if it set up Indeeded. No. Komodo isn't one of my Z users, and I never OHKO or Necrozma from +1. Like, never. And if I lock in, besides maybe Outrage, and if I lock in Outrage, you have a Clefable still chill in the back. So, don't necessarily agree with that play. My play right here is to go into Celesteela 100% and just click Autotomize. If he, for some reason, isn't Fake Out Lop, I think we actually do win at this point in the game. Like, I think we do win. But if he is, which he probably is, then we're going to be in a tough spot. And again, the Psychic Terrain in the background isn't actual Psychic Terrain. I wish, because that means he wouldn't be able to, fake out us and stuff like that. But regardless, I'm going to go for an Air Slash with my Celesteela, as he does choose to sack off his Clefable, giving us a +1 boost, and also showing us that he was unaware Clefable, which is obviously good information to know if we do end up playing Zombie in the future. He was definitely really scared of a setup Komodo. Like, you can tell he's really scared of a setup Komodo. But he's going to go out back onto Lop, and this says, I'm Fake Out. And this means that just with the amount of sack pieces that he has in the back, because of the fact that my Toad wasn't able to claim a KO or really break through in the way I wanted it to, we're not going to be able to have enough turns in order to win with Celesteela here. Because what he's going to be able to do is just kind of Fake Out Cycle and chip me down as he slowly sacks off the rest of his team. As out comes Bronzong, I'm just going to Flash Cannon. That +1 Flash Cannon would have knocked out the lot from that range, like for sure. And, I'll obviously hit everything else guaranteed for, without missing, like in the way Air Slash could have versus like a Muck coming in or something like that. So I want to at least get, the best diff possible out of this game. Maybe rack up some Celesteela kills, make it look a little bit better on the end of the season stats sheet and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, down goes the Bronzong. Fortunately, down goes the Bronzong. But unfortunately, despite this really boosting up with Selly, we're not going to be able to beat this Lop in the back. It's just going to be able to kind of outstall us at this point, which is, again, not super fun, but it happens. It's just kind of the game we play at this point. So out comes a Fake Out, and that's going to put us in a range of the next one, which means we definitely don't have enough pieces. It's going to mean this Lop is going to eventually be able to clean it up. Again, I don't really agree with the play that Zombie made in high jump kicking my Komodo, though I suppose that is me overplaying, because it was a sense where if I didn't make the correct play, I lost the game. So I don't think that I should have made the play in hindsight, just because of the fact that since I did, I was and I didn't get it right, I 100% lost the game at that point, unless he missed a high jump kick, that first initial high jump kick, or, that high jump kick that he clicked on Komodo or something like that. But again, that's not very good odds for us to rely on and things like that. So we're going to have to really tighten it up next week. This would have been a really big win for us, pushing us to, I believe it would have been 6-2, opposed to 5-3, which is, again, very, very unfortunate. But we got 2 weeks left in the season. If we can win both of them, we should pretty much guarantee playoffs. Be 7-3. 6-4 can definitely make playoffs as well, but we're going to have to do well and try and win these last 2 games and be in a better spot. But unfortunately, just not how it goes. I could have just 100% Drain Punched and maybe been in a better spot, but we're going to drop this one to Zombie. Just to him, he definitely played well. Minus that one little disagreement, I think he brought a very solid team. I think the Necro was definitely really smart bring versus us, and we're just going to have to hopefully tighten it up going forward. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like. If you're new here, be sure to drop a sub. It's free. It helps me out. Lets me know you're enjoying what I'm doing. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.